Desperate times call for desperate measures, or for practical solutions. That was what secret agent and all-round genius Angus MacGyver was famous for in his TV show in the 80s and 90s. It was fiction, of course, fun and entertaining for both action fans and nerds, but now, in the 21st century, MacGyver has come to life, over 40 million times, and his new name, the Ukrainian people. Welcome to Talking Tactics, where in this episode it's about the witty and creative things Ukrainians come up with to drive the Russian invaders back to where they came from. Whether it's attaching one part of a weapon to another, like an RPG-7 to a drone to create a sort of quadcopter, mounting all sorts of guns on all sorts of vehicles, reviving the water-cooled machine gun from World War I, Ukrainians are doing everything to maximize their resources. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. As mentioned before, one of the most simple and effective pieces of Ukrainian improv has been the RPG-7 FPV Drone combo. The Soviet-developed RPG, due to, for example, its easy use and low production cost, is basically the AK of rocket-propelled grenade launchers. Cheap, easy to use, and because of that, one of the most commonly used weapons all around the globe. With drones becoming cheaper and better almost by the day, the Ukrainians thought, hey, why not use both? So now, instead of being fired with a launcher, the grenade is carried with high speed to the air. And when it hits its target, hello darkness, my old friend. Well, the result is basically the same, except for that the range and surprise element is drastically increased. The shooter is protected because he doesn't have to be so close to what he's shooting at, and now we have a video feed that can be shared and watched. Moving on, guns on cars. Nothing new, a very common thing. Whether the Humvee with a machine gun that's everyone's seen, the African Rebel version, or the many other weaponized trucks, it makes total sense. You're in fast, out fast, and maybe most importantly, no one has to carry the damn thing around. So when Russia invades and you and your boys sadly don't have an armada of armored Humvees lying around, what do? You take the nearest available pickup, you take the gun, and you get your super glue and glue the gun to the car. It's a joke, of course, it's not that easy, you need a good welder. But anyways, it's still cheap and practical. Ukrainians have taken this one step further. Soldiers from the Territorial Defense Forces of Kryvyi Rih, it's where President Zelensky is from by the way, managed to salvage a Russian BM-21 Grad multiple rocket launcher system, which they then mounted on the back of a Mitsubishi L200 truck, including this little turntable. Even the Ukrainian Defense Ministry commented this one with the words, one would ask, how can it work? But we can say, why not? Anyways, moving on. In 1884, a British-American named Hiram Stevens Maxim invented the world's first fully automated machine gun. He named it, of course, after himself. The gun became very popular, and the Russian Empire, that was then ruled by a Tsar, made their own version, the Pulemyot Maxima PM-1910. Now, more than 120 years later, this gun is still being employed by Ukrainian troops. Why, you may ask? Well, of course, many modern machine guns have significant advantages over the Maxim, without question. But it has one special feature, and it's this bulky round thing around the barrel. It's a water cooler, which means the gun can basically fire endlessly, or at least for quite a long time, if you just keep topping it up with bullets and liquid. Besides from that, it fires a standard 7.62 by 54mm cartridge that's been used in this part of the world since 1891. But of course, it wouldn't be Ukraine if they just let a gun be a gun. So, soldiers have come into a sort of competition of who can complete the wittiest and best upgrade. Some did kind of simple and logical steps and fitted the Maxim with modern optics, basic camouflage and a suppressor. Others added 4 Maxim guns to a remote-controlled rig that can spin 360 degrees. That of course hasn't gone unnoticed in the internet community, or as one Twitter user put it, I see you're a single Maxim and raise you a dual Maxim with red dot sight. Anyways, improvising has become even a business model. A Ukrainian company has developed a series of kits that allows soldiers to MacGyver their Kalashnikov into a bullpup, a rifle where the magazine is behind the trigger. We mentioned this in our last video about the Ukrainian weapons industry, which you can also find by clicking on the link in the description. These kits, they come in different variations and cost around 21,000 Ukrainian hryvnia. That's $560, give or take. If you didn't know, a lot of soldiers and units gather donations from the civilian population and buy equipment out of their own accord. So in return, a lot of private companies have started developing and producing military equipment. Things like these kits, but also common plate carriers, plates, helmets, etc. In our last video, we also mentioned the 2S-22 Bohdana, a Ukrainian-made self-propelled howitzer, which essentially is also a result of MacGyvering. The weapon is a 155mm cannon mounted on a Kraz 6322, a Ukrainian truck. In this case, this inventive little combination has now been commissioned for mass production by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. But not only by combining two weapons, or by militarizing commercial items, one of the most unknown, but actually kind of the Ukrainian superweapon, is the digital realm. Of course, many armies of the world are continuously trying to digitalize and upgrade their armed forces. But already before the full-scale invasion, Ukraine was known to be an IT hub. Whether design, cryptocurrency or app development, Ukrainians, they have it all. They have a digital ID, for example, can pay their taxes or register a new business via their smartphone. Whereas in countries like Germany, they'll send you a letter that will arrive weeks later if you're lucky. GIS ARTA, or GIS Art for Artillery, is basically for the army what Uber is for the taxi industry. Designed for ground troops, it allows them to order an artillery strike on an enemy position. And it really is like booking an Uber driver. You enter the GPS coordinates of the target, then the available artillery in the area is shown. And if the artillery is able to hit the target, so if it works range-wise and the crew is available, all you need to do is press shoot. Since last August, the Ukrainian army also uses another program called Delta. It's basically an interactive map that can be accessed by a tablet or by smartphone. You see Ukrainian positions, but also enemy positions. You see movements, news, and other things. The information is gathered from a wide range of sources, from troops, from civilian officials, from intelligence, live streams, so accessible cameras like ones that are meant for traffic surveillance, from satellites and drones, and geolocated data mapped in real time. So when a Russian soldier or someone on the front line posts a picture somewhere on the internet, sometimes it lands in the Delta system. If you're interested, we would definitely do a follow-up episode on this aspect, so apps and technology used by the Ukrainians in this war. Anyways, thanks for watching Talking Tactics. Hit like and subscribe, and see you next week.